Hey Scott, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Cole?
Doing well, thank you. And I know that I'm pretty much sure that Shannon probably will not be joining because she has her ASHA conference up in Boston. So,
In Austin. All right.
or in Boston, Massachusetts. So,
Boston.
yeah, quite
Oh, that's a little further than Austin.
just a bit, yes, yeah. But I'm a little jealous, not necessarily of the weather, but of the food. So hopefully they're having her and Angela are having a good time.
Nice. I love Boston.
Indeed.
Mr. James, all well with you?
You know, as well as can be expected. Doing just fine. How about yourself?
Enjoying the weather, that's for sure.
Good.
I was
Yeah.
up in Missouri. Like, what's the temp like?
It's in the low 60s today, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, right now it is 60. Um, the lows have been in the 40s, and I don't
Oh,
know.
gotcha.
All I care about is it's nice bike riding weather.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Uh, it's strange that it's as warm and dry as it has been for a long time, which I mean, on the one hand is terrible, but yeah, I've been able to bike to work consistently uh all along. Normally mid-October, I'm done. I'm driving in, but not this year.
Yeah.
I'm just glad here down here in Austin, Texas, that I think we finally got past our like being in the 80s like a couple weeks ago. So hopefully now it'll be relatively chillier. Moving
Yeah.
forward, who's to say, really?
It's is becoming a crapshoot.
Yeah.
And Jessica, where are you? Hi.
I am in Pennsylvania. I'm outside of Philadelphia.
Great. And tell me what have you joined us before?
No,
Great.
I was looking on the AJNJ Cart website. I want to get more into what they're doing. I work a lot with TechAL in Pennsylvania, but I did a presentation at the NJAT Summit.
Great. What was your presentation? What interests you at this point?
So I did a presentation on my communication boards I make for first responders.
Oh, nice. That's fantastic. Well, if you want to, so is there anything in particular you're looking for with this group, or just to get involved more with a little bit of making?
I'd like to do more making, like probably not going to be able to see it, but one thing I've been making is switches out of like cardboard.
Nice.
Nice.
And
what are they wrapped in?
Duct tape.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I recently just made a switch out of old CDs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have yet.
You're supposed to use like wide copper tape, but I had this really narrow copper tape, so I just did like strips and strips and strips of copper tape, but it worked out. So what are your guts? How do you get your contacts? Or I don't have all the language for it.
What do you mean?
What's like I just had copper tape and put my wires there. And
my dad does, when we switch adapt and all, he does all the soldering. So I just have him solder the switch and the button, like the wire and the button together. And then like I'll just break out my hot glue gun and use any materials around the house and
nice. Family effort.
Mm-hmm. And then my mom usually has to transport me everywhere.
Everybody's involved.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a team.
All right. Yeah, I have an OT capstone student working with me right now, and he's doing accessible gaming, and he's wrapping up, but he's got a few more days left. And I'm like, great, you're gonna help me make switches.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
and I also have a 3D printer, but I just don't really know how to use it. Like I can print something, like I know how to print something if it works. If it's not leveled or if I had to put in filament, forget about it. So that's why I've been just making stuff out of materials at home.
Gotcha. And Jessica, is your something you have to level every time for your printer, correct?
Probably.
Gotcha. I
And my
suppose like
parents
because
don't have no clue what they're doing. And
So you have to learn more about leveling.
yeah.
Well,
a couple things. Like in the beginning, I made like off of Maker's Making Change, one of the things that you put on a soda can and open it.
oh yeah, I
I
have
made that.
one, or
I
actually
made
not just
the
make which one,
I
but
made the pill
it's simple.
popper one where you like it punches the hole in it.
you made the what was it?
It's like the one where it's like you squeeze it and it pops the pill out of the blister pack.
Yep. Yep, I just gave that one away, so I don't have it. And I don't have that soda one either, but those are two that I also make. Yeah. Yeah, and this morning, this is a handy one. I like
Yes.
this one a lot. It's
Yeah.
for the soup cans. Have you made this one?
No,
It's,
I haven't been able to print as much as I want because of all the issues I'm having. Like I printed a couple things, and now I guess it needs maintenance because it's all weird.
what kind of printer do you have?
It's the Ender 3 version 2.
Gotcha.
Yeah, as someone
Ooh,
who has a
no.
couple of Ender 3s, they are finicky machines. You're talking to a crowd of people who have all been down this road and thought we're gonna do 3D printing and it'll be fun and easy, and then it drives us all mad. So we get it.
I just have one. I have a Prusa though, so I spent more money on my printer so that I would have hopefully less kind of maintenance and hassle and
The only problem is I'm having so much trouble with this one. I don't even want to buy a new one, and we don't even have the money, first of all. But I don't want to buy
Right.
a new one and then risk not being able to do anything with it.
Right. Well, and I think kind of what Bill was saying, it's like if you can team up with somebody who has an ender or who has had enders, then you have somebody to ask questions to. I mean, that's what I did. I have a couple of people that I like just go to and say, okay, here's my problem, what's next? And YouTube is also where because when I first had to change filament, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I did something wrong. It was a big blunder that, made me think, oh, I just broke my expensive 3D printer, and YouTube walked me through it.
YouTube has saved me
So-
many times with my printers and with all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh boy. But yeah. It's
So
finicky
keep you on the spot.
and it's gonna probably just be sitting on the shelf for a while.
And just guys, this is like
Not-
really a personal printer.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Good to know. Because
I
I'm trying
don't
to figure
really
out-
work with anybody. I've partnered with Tech Al for their AT champions. I was in that. And DCIU AT. Like they're pretty popular on Instagram. They're my local school that I went to a couple years ago. And they have an assistive technology program there, and I talk to them somewhat. Like I'm usually emailing them a lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you have something that you need 3D printed and your printer is too problematic, if you have a file, there's a lot of times you can just send that either to Tech Owl or your school, and they might be able to print it for you, which could be the best option, especially if they'll do it if you're printing for
Well, I'm not really
folks.
printing for anybody yet. It's more just printing, like to see what you can make with it.
Yeah.
So nobody's like really needed something. Like I don't think I'd be like good enough yet to like figure out something and then give it to somebody. Like
Yeah.
It's just
I totally
easier
get
to
that.
like do it on the 3D printer and just print stuff off and Maker's Making Change.
And I wonder, in the meantime, do y'all have like local libraries that have 3D printers? I mean, that might be a slightly cheaper
There's
option if there are
there's
like
one
someone that
like
maybe want to
an
print.
hour away from me.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Okay. So definitely distance wise, it's not very manageable. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then saying that I don't have a driver's license, my parents don't want to drive me all the way out there just to
Right.
Gotcha.
Well, then the duct tape switches seem like a really good option.
Mhm.
Yeah. But you know, I mean, having that
Oh yeah, and I
partnership,
have Instamorph too.
there you go.
I made these rings and I like the design was you put it on your finger and then you just hit it against the light switch real fast. And you can flip the light switch.
Yeah, and any of those things that you design, and you know, if somebody then can make a 3D print out of it, if they want to, is also a great way to support, you know, the community. So
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
what else do I make? But I usually do more with like board maker and making communication boards. That's what I was doing since I was in 9th grade, and like I'm graduated now and I'm still doing it.
nice.
And I got like I learned about like the making stuff portion of it, and that's when I started getting interested. So now I guess I kind of do like most of everything with AT with my thoughts.
Yes.
That's very cool. And so your local first responders take your communication boards with them when they go
Yeah,
out.
and I was even on the news for it.
Awesome.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
And I do it for my when I was in school, I would do it for my teachers, and I made a couple posters for like the younger grades.
Very cool.
So like I made like a visual support poster, like I made it in board maker and then they printed it out on poster paper and laminated it.
Nice.
That's
It's great to have an impact that you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm working on 3D print kits, and I was really excited to take the brim of my print
Mm-hmm.
to like help people know, like, I want this put back here, but I laminated it, and now it you know, it doesn't you can see it, but it doesn't have that same tactile, like, this is where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
My coworker and I are just kind of thinking about that because I want to have a display at like a senior center with these tools, and so I want to
Kind
have
of like a tactile like visual thing.
Yep, yep. I want it to all make really good sense for a couple of reasons. I want it to be, you know, like the device to go back where the name is so people can know what it's called. But I also don't want anybody putting these in their pockets and thinking that they're giveaways when it is the demo kit. So yeah, we're just working on that a little bit. And then we'll get those out to some organizations so people can try it. And then hopefully I'll partner with a local makerspace, and they'll help me print items, and I'll be able to give some of these things away. So feels like a pretty good project.
I went to an alternative school for the last couple years of high school. But when I was at my regular high school, they had a makerspace, and like now that I'm like into this, I was like, I'm just telling myself, why didn't I think of this sooner and bring it to my high school?
Right. Yeah, where you could have learned a little bit more and done maybe even a little bit more. Yeah. Well, maybe
my school, my alternative high school, last year when I seriously got into this, they would get all excited and they'd like let me do these meetings during the school day in the conference room. And I even got an award at the end of the year because of all the work I did. And then of course they put me in carpentry. So like I was like bringing in my switches, and we were using the power link and using the power tools on it, like the ones that aren't gonna like destroy it. But
Right.
we did that. And then like if I had something 3D printed and it needed to be super glued, I'd just bring it in and the teacher would super glue it for me. Like, and then I had these bottles where like I made a bottle and then I drilled a hole and put a paintbrush in so you can grab it easier.
Oh, uh-huh.
Mhm.
And he like drilled all the holes in the bottle caps for me. And
Sounds like really good support you had there. That's very
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, maybe you could even go volunteer at the school and still be involved, and you could learn, like you could use the tools still or something and help other people learn how to.
It's a long story, but I don't think I really want to go back there and like deal with the students. But
Right.
sometimes I do go back and like meet with the SLP of the school because last year we were teaming up and working, and I even got her on one of Tech Gal's meetings at one point.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. I do know that I definitely get sometimes you can't go back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, moving forward, I don't know, maybe you help your town get a makerspace in town or something.
I don't know.
You never know.
They'd probably be interested because they were like crazily excited when I was on the news because they mentioned the town's name.
Right.
So like they were like had me like at their board meeting and they acknowledged it, and so like I'm sure they would be interested, and especially with my dad, he's in their emergency management for the township.
Mm-hmm.
So it would probably they'd probably be interested in doing it, but I wouldn't be the one to do it on my own.
No, it's definitely would have to be a joint effort. But
Mhm.
having you have this, like, this is what I do, this is how I make, and other people could say, hey, this is what I do, and you come together and it really I don't know, there's potential.
Mhm.
It's very cool.
Definitely.
So Cole, have you been up to anything
Yeah,
that way?
recently I've been printing some more key guards for a suburban school district outside of Austin. The great thing was that she already had the skills to in the Volk switch, which for reference, Jessica, is basically it's a computer aided design software that has like several different
I
default
know Volk
features.
Switch.
Yeah.
I have the keyguard software
Oh,
on my
nice.
computer. It's just a matter of figuring it out and
Yeah.
measuring my iPad because I don't know like how like it wants me to measure the iPad for it.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, it does take some time to kind of get used to it. But
Mhm.
the nice thing was that this SLP had already had experience with it. So like she already sent like three, pre-designed key guards. All I had to do was print them out. And this is the first time working with one to basically had it was where there had like extension tabs that would snap onto a case, but like it still were attached to the key guard, which required some support material. So fortunately, it worked out pretty nicely because fortunately for us, we have a dual extruder printer which uses water dissolvable, water soluble support material, so I could easily just soak it in for like 24 hours, and it would act like kind of dissolve as needed, and we'd have a finished key guard. So that was my first time
Wow.
working with that for key guard specifically. Other times I've had some difficulty just because after a little while the material that dissolved material comes a little like gummy and a little bit sticky, so it's kind of you just kind of have to wait it out. Even though like Ultimaker, which is the printer or which is the brand that a printer that we have, like technically has like material stations or whatnot for like dissolving the material. I'm like, we're not spending money on that. But so
Right.
that's been really cool. Still kind of chug-a-lugging through printing out some kind of similar to you, Scout, printing out some demo kits, but specifically for our demonstration centers. We have around 22. So we've gotten so slowly but surely, my colleague Nico and I have been using both our printers to kind of get through 4 to 5 items for 22 demo centers. So because otherwise, outside of um the key guard orders that we have, which are kind of customizable, we haven't gotten a whole lot of traffic on our 3D print store, which Shannon doesn't mind too much because her big thing is capacity building in the state for 3D printing, which I mean I wouldn't mind doing a lot more orders if that was the case. But yeah, so hopefully that will give us a little more visibility in the different local areas that the DEM centers are in case people need us to 3D print, or if they want, they can just kind of borrow the files that we already have on our website to print in their local areas or in their libraries. But that's what we've been doing so far recently. And I will say, in terms of switch making, when I went to closing the gap with Nico and Shannon in Minnesota in October, it was my first time soldering. Well, the thing was, like, I was more so supporting Nico, who is able-bodied. The fact that he has both use of both hands, whereas only have significant use of my one hand of my left hand, whereas my right hand I have hemiplegia. So I'm like, I was like really nervous about just using soldering. So I'm not sure if there are really good or great solutions for soldering with one hand, but like I know that there's some tools, but I was still kind of very nervous and anxious about it. So I don't know. I'm not sure if kind of switch making is still in our wheelhouse, or if that's something we want to go into a little bit in the future. But yeah, it was interesting to see
Were
that.
you at Closing the Gap this year?
As closing the gap, this October.
Because I was there this year.
Nice, gotcha.
I had a table at the the Maker Day.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm not sure if you might have run into my colleague Shannon. She has kind of short, curly, blonde hair,
You
glasses.
might have ran into her. My mom's
She
nodding.
yeah, she had the whole stand for Bliss tactile symbols. So
Yeah, she was right next to us.
oh nice.
Nice.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, we also were able to have a presentation that was
I
it
got to meet Mary
Thursday?
Catherine Daly, who was
Gotcha.
one of the like people that like I really take her ideas from.
Nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? I love that about conferences.
Indeed, small world.
I have this stand for soldering that has 4 flexible arms and with alligator clips on the
that's
end.
what I'm trying to remember his full name. He also his last name is also Murata, but it's not the New Jersey.
Oh
Murata.
yeah, Chris
It's
Murata.
Chris Murata from New York.
Yeah.
He like, and given I didn't do a good job of like warning him beforehand that I needed accommodations, so I was just gonna be like kind of supporting Nico, watching him do it. But I know it was still a little like I was just worried, especially it's like I don't want to get my right hand anywhere near something that's super, super hot and do not want to burn myself. So
Right.
yeah, it was definitely kind of above my learning curve when we were first doing that. I'm like, I'm just watching, I'm just here for the ride because I
Why
could
my
only do so
dad
much.
solders.
Yeah, so
Right. Yeah, so but the interact switch that I've been doing, you don't really have to solder it. I don't know, Bill, if you've made these because the wire goes in so tightly that it basically can't pull out. And then the CD switch that I made, I also didn't solder, I just tape everything down, which is nice. It's nice to have, some that you don't have to do. We did switch adapt toys and solder all of those. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to solder the switches. Cole, do you make the interact switch? Have you done those?
We have not made any 3 print switches so far. We just haven't,
because I was having trouble. I had to reach out to TechOwl, to Alana, and get some help. I'm like, this isn't right.
Yeah, I would say they're much more well versed on switches. I think our focus has primarily been on key cards, especially with Shannon being an SLP, and her having kind of that knowledge base. So yeah, it's kind of more of our area. We just haven't really gotten into switch making so far. Honestly, I'm not sure if we really have that much space to do soldering in our office. I'm not sure if that would be okay for our supervisors, but yeah.
I just swiped everything over and I was like, I'm setting up a toy adaptation.
I mean, the thing
station.
is, like, I'm not even sure if this is the most hygienic, but like basically I have to dissolve the stuff and like dissolve material like in our like little kitchen area. So it's like it would be ideal to have like a separate space I mean, we do have like our little demo room that has the 3D printers, but like you got to make it work. So yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely. So
Yes.
so Bill, do you make switches?
Not routinely, just kind of on occasion.
So I have this switch, but it like the lid comes up, it's so wobbly. And Alana said that was the way they are. Does that seem reasonable?
I've never seen that particular model.
Okay.
And I don't know that I've seen one do that. If it wobbles, does it at least settle back to a spot where it's usable?
Yeah. So like it's fine. You can hit it. Right. But did you 3D print that, Jessica?
No,
Like I'm
I
looking
got
for it.
this one from TechAl. Tom gave me this one.
Is it
But
3D
this
printed?
one's really wobbly.
Oh, that's even more wobbly than mine.
But
Right.
then I have this one that I had a volunteer from Makers Making Change give me, and it's still wobbly, but it's not as crazy as that one.
That's the same design that I have because you can change the stuff on the top.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I guess I mean I think that's just the design then. Thank you, Jessica.
Mhm.
Is there any way
I
to
just
easily
I need a little
secure that?
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I guess as long as they work when you press them, then
Gotcha.
you're in business.
And then the other thing is the two switches I got from TechAl, they only work on certain things and they don't work on the power link. But then the
Hmm.
ones that the volunteers from Makers Making Change made me, they work on everything. I heard it's the voltage,
They don't.
maybe.
Huh. That's interesting that they don't work with the power link. I'll have to
But
test
that's why
mine.
I'm happy when I made the recycled ones. It made me so happy to know that they do work on the power link.
And also, sorry for reference,
Yeah,
what is the power link?
It's
You plug a
it's
switch
basically like a
into it,
switch.
then you plug an appliance into the other end, and when you press the switch, it'll make the appliance work, and you won't like have to. It's like if it's like a blender and you can't like solder a cord into it,
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
and then it has many modes.
Yeah. Right.
So-
It's a great option for switch adapting something. I mean, the power link is expensive, so most individuals wouldn't have it unless I don't know. It's like almost $400. But
My
it
goodness.
can and old blenders used to be a great thing, but new blenders won't even work on the power link because there's too many components inside them. But we use it for the fan and all kinds of just simple on off things. Works great on radios, that kind of stuff.
So I'm going to throw a link into the chat here. This is a switch that looks externally similar to the one that you had there. I have not printed this myself, but I saw it at ATIA like 2 years ago. Somebody was walking around with one, and I love it. So it prints in 3 components, and if you like look at the third picture at the bottom, you can see the 3 3D printed components plus the switch. And
Yeah.
the difference here is that ring kind of screws
Right.
on top, and that
Mhm.
prevents any
Yeah.
of that wobble or bounce. So this winds up being I've only seen the one in the wild and I've never actually used it, but it was such a smooth actuation and always returned back to where it belonged. And because of that ring, if you don't have to hit dead center like you do on so many of these. If you hit on one side, the ring causes it to pivot enough that it still activates the switch inside of it.
That's
I
cool.
love this switch.
Yeah, that is very cool. I'd have to buy different because my switch component isn't like that, but that looks like a great one, actually.
Yeah, and it's only 2 contacts to solder. I have had trouble though finding this one. That is a 10 millimeter tall, the actual switch itself, and
Yeah.
finding those has been tricky.
I just got an email today from this company that I used. Hope I didn't delete it. Oh, looks like maybe I did.
Are those the
Let's-
tall stemmed, Jessica? Are those like a centimeter tall?
Says 6 micro small PCP. Well, so
Could be.
small PC, yeah, big.
Yeah, same basic idea anyway. It's just finding the right. Yeah. Oh, if you flip it over, the black circle on top is.
It
Yeah,
might not-
that
oh.
part is what's shorter. The one there, and it being tall is what's so important for when that circle pivots that it's able to hit
Right.
it.
Hmm.
I'll see if I can
I
find that.
I got
You-
mine at
you know what
Online
I did?
Components.
You can build like a pillar with it with hot glue because
Oh, that's a good
one
idea.
of my
Yeah.
switches, it was like not going, like it would just like stay held down because of the book cover on it. So I
Yeah.
just made pillars of hot glue on the corners and it helped it bounce back up. So you
Yeah.
Nice.
Or
do that.
yes, that's a great idea. And with that, the red circle part of it, you could also just 3D print the pillar as part of it and
Mhm.
take it down. That's a great idea. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Thanks.
Yeah. It's a group effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. And yeah, making it work. But I bet, I mean, it's possible maybe to find those components. Like I said, I use onlinecomponents.com and they had a good selection of stuff.
Oh, I don't know that one. I actually just found them on Amazon, which I try to avoid at all cost. A pack of 100 for $10.
Wow.
Wow.
The ones I have were like a pack of 100 for like $6.
Excellent.
I got them from the guy Adapted Design on Instagram. Gave me the
Oh.
link for him. Like Greg,
Nice.
I think his name is.
And what was the site you used, Scout?
I used Online Components. And you, Jessica, you use Adapted, what was it?
No, well, his name on Instagram is Adapted Design. He does like a lot of stuff with AT, but like I usually message him if I'm having trouble with something. And he sent me the link. It's on Amazon. Let me see if I can put it in the chat.
Great.
Also, Bill, I see your Nintendo Switch on the desk. I just recently got one for my birthday.
So funny story. We're getting ready to do some adaptive gaming here.
Yeah.
And I had to submit a big request. I've got 2 PS5s, 2 Xbox Series X's, and a bunch of
Nice.
other stuff.
Yeah.
But last year at Christmas, we got both of our kids Switches, and it turned out to
Nice.
be such a big miss. They don't play with them at all, don't care.
Thanks.
So I
Yeah.
offered my kids $200 a piece for their Switches and all of the accessories, and our son took us up on it. So
Nice.
that's it.
Yeah, I'm the tricky thing for me is like, given I haven't looked into the adapted option for or the adaptive controller for the Nintendo Switch. I've only had a
Yeah.
little experience with the Xbox adaptive controller.
Yep.
But I know it's interesting because I've only been playing a couple of games since I've started like the nice thing is that like soccer games have turned out to be very, very accessible because there are relatively few controls that you need at a time. I
Sure.
started playing NBA 2K back on Monday, and like I'm not sure because I played it with like my roommates a couple years back and like on the Xbox, but for some reason it seems to even be more challenging, even though I'm sure that most of the controls are the same. But because there's so many more controls that you need to do at one time, it can be really tricky. So
Um, Yeah, no, we're just getting into it. We have the Hori Flex, which is
Yes, yeah.
yeah. So we've got a couple of those. We got the Xbox adaptive controllers. We pre-ordered the new Sony one that's coming out. But that's a weird design. I don't know. I need
Yeah,
to
it
get my
is.
hands on
It
that.
was,
I'm
it was
not
very,
sure.
yeah. It like when I've looked at it, it's very interesting. And I will say actually, I'm sure, also Scott, I'm not sure if your OT student has seen this, but like that the adaptive controller, the Axis controller for the PS5 is coming out, I think December 6th.
Yeah, that's what he was just saying yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got
And
a
that's
pre-order.
an interesting design as well. Very different from what I've seen from the Xbox or the Hori.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Another one. So there is, let me get up the thing. Have you guys been seeing that cardboard cutter?
No.
No.
The what?
It's like a cardboard cutter. And I'm gonna get it in a second. It's not gonna be sold until like the spring. But I'm thinking about and I never did that. But I am going to I wanted to try and get it at some point. There it is. But I feel like it would be really good for like making ATAC. And it's really cheap and it's safe for kids to use, so like it's like not something you have to like worry about getting hurt with.
Honestly, this would be like, as somebody who has visibility, that this looks really intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with cutting open boxes, like it's always been a challenge. So I mean, given I'm not sure like if it's more so just like standard cardboard versus like a full on box you can use this well with, but very
I think you
know.
might be able to use wood with it, like a thin wood, but I'm not sure.
Gotcha. Good to know.
I did see this. Where did I see this? Maybe on
It's been
Kickstarter.
on Instagram that I found it.
Okay.
Huh.
I do occasionally I'm pretty sure I saw this on Kickstarter. I just occasionally peruse it looking for new stuff coming. This is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is cool.
Do you know
So
how much
you have
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Cole.
Do you know how much it's supposed to sell for?
It's like 100 and like $200.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
it's not crazy. Like with what you can do with it, I don't think it would be that crazy.
Yeah.
No, and in a school it'd be great.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
then it says next to it that if you can like have one donated.
Mhm.
Nice.
So if anybody would ever think of like a good reason to get it, like donated.
Good to know.
Like I don't think I'd be able to be like worthy enough to have it donated to me, but
Gotcha.
It does look very cool. Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
Also, Scout, I had a question for you. I know that like the last meeting you were working on printing out the those adapted nail clipper holders.
Oh yeah.
How well has it worked? Like because I there is that other model that I've tried, and especially for me, like that's one of the like activities that I still can't do independently, or I'm still scared of, especially because like I can't actively cut my like nails on my left hand with my right hand. I technically could, like, just for me, no, the pressure, everything kind of scares me. So I'm just wondering if it's worked for a consumer yet, because the other one where it's I think another maker's making change a model, but I'm not sure if like pressure wise it just didn't really work for me when I've tried that one. But I haven't tried I technically have that same one printed, but I just haven't really tried it very well.
So this is the one you haven't tried?
Yeah, I tried the one that like is kind of differently shaped, where you kind of like press down on it.
Yep.
But
Mine just fell apart. Oh, this is my broken one, that's why. Because I couldn't believe that it could print. I mean, this is the one where at last meeting I was like, surely this has to print in 2 pieces.
I mean, you would be surprised how many like articulated like fidgets we've been able to do. Like This is
yeah, this
an all in one piece. So
just blew me away that
Cool.
that this could print as one piece. So yeah, but it's not going to work because it's broken.
yeah.
But
yeah.
I have used it, and I don't know. I think
I've used it, and it's really like my mom usually has to cut my fingers because I'm just too afraid I'm gonna hurt myself.
Mhm.
But when I use that, like you can't do it on your toenails, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like I just don't like the feeling of it, like once it's cut. But it's a lot easier for me to cut my nails and like feel like safe about it.
My goodness,
Yeah.
that is me right there. I definitely relate to that. And I did see one because out of the community practice 3D printing thing from AT3, I know that one of the items I actually have not printed out yet, but I had seen that they're compiling link lists to different things, and there was another nail clipper holder, but specifically for like trimmers, that's like kind of was able to to more easily hold a finger down. But I need to try to find that list again. But that one I honestly might be interesting because for me, my right hand, like my fingers tend to like tense up or kind of like tend to move around anxiously when trying to cut my nails. So I wonder if that one might be interesting to try and if it actually functions, because I think when I had mentioned the other model to at the meeting, I was basically just saying that the pressure from that one just doesn't really work well compared to just like nail clippers on their own, if that makes sense.
So Cole, one thing we've done, we haven't made this public yet.
Yeah.
Really just we've been meaning to, that Makers Making Change one.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of students fiddle with variations on that. I'm trying to think of how to describe this. So you've got the base that the nail clipper actually
Yeah.
slips in, right? And
Yeah.
then an arm comes up, down, and back up.
Yeah.
That initial up, we've adjusted the length of that, made it longer and shorter.
Okay.
Because we've had so many people come in with, you would think nail clippers are nail clippers, but they're different enough and require different enough pressure.
Yeah.
And so making it longer and shorter without screwing up the angle on it, we've been able to get more pressure out of it or fit larger nail clippers. We've also widened the barrel. So we have like a standard and a toenail clipper version that will fit both of those in there. We keep, I don't know why we haven't submitted those to Makers Making Change to consider. Just it keeps slipping my mind.
But that's the one that basically is like a U that goes down and up. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And
that's the one I was doing first, but this flipper one actually prints faster.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking at is like what's the faster print. But I do like this flipper one. I like it a little bit better.
And I ended up actually because I have both of them back at home, and I ended up like, because I was just like, fidgeting and like messing around with the one I literally like just kind of cracked.
Oh no,
U-shaped one. So I'm like, okay, I'm not sure if that, I don't know. So, not sure if there's a way to strengthen that one, but but yeah, I still, I don't know, because that's like one of the activities I still definitely need assistance with. I mean, partially it's like the case where the majority of things I could probably do on my own, like, but I will say I'm not sure if there is a good option right now to be able to clip your toenails on adaptive function or more so than just only fingernails, with everything being said.
I have seen a variation, not that I'm not trying to stick on that same design, but I have seen a variation on that Makers Making Change design that has like a 6-inch long post built onto that U handle with almost like a field goal style cuff at the top for the purpose of putting a foot in and stepping down onto. I would not trust that at all, because it's going to be, it necessarily has to be below your feet, and I don't know that you can see your toenail to know you're not actually cutting your toe.
That's the issue, is like the distance and everything. Like I don't trust that. So
you would have to put
I'm gonna have to learn to use the nail clippers independently and just at some point just get through it. Or I don't know. It's just the pressure for me is where it just kind of scares me, because I'm worried that I'm like gonna overdo it. Toenails or fingernails, and I'm sort of,
So do they have some kind of Dremel that I don't know if that'd be better or worse. That might be worse. I thought there was some device that was like, you put your fingernail in and it would just like, it would be a higher tech, but it would just kind of like Dremel it off. And
You
so,
know where I've seen that is in pet stores.
right.
Is like for dog nails, they have Dremel clippers essentially. But
Yeah,
still,
but
you
I
have to have the
mean,
dexterity to hold it, place it, see what you're doing.
yeah, because I mean, I guess I would want one that you could just put your finger in and the device would do all the kind of checking to make sure it's not coming too close to your skin and your Cole is cringing.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I mean, I think it's one of those things like if I just move away from like my folks and everything, or just move, just move out of state, just like, find a solid like nail salon and just like kind of like, that just might be my best thing, spend the money for like every, once every few weeks, whatnot. Um, because yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, "Ugh." Like I should learn the skill and I should do my best to try to, be independent on it. But at the same time, it's like,
or
dude,
you
The way
just or you just post or like mount a file and every day just like file a little bit
I
of your
don't know. The,
nail
the
off.
filing also, it's like maybe that's just like a textural thing where like, no,
Oh.
I would prefer more traditional nail clipping as opposed to filing, but I don't know. That's just me being particular at this point.
Scott, the idea of the machine that you can put your fingers in to have it automatically kind of Dremel down. That's what I want before I'm ready to commit a bank robbery. And I'm just going to put my fingertips in this way, grind off my fingerprints.
Goodness.
Well,
and
now
go
we
for it.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the edges of the nails, I would be worried about that. I'm not sure. Like
Yeah.
I get a little bit way too close to the skin.
Yeah,
Now we're talking about hypotheticals.
I know.
Yeah. But no. But yeah, I feel like that's definitely for me one of those like last minute activities where it's like I still definitely need continued assistance on it. But yeah.
Well, and I do wonder, I mean, I think not for everyone, but I do wonder, like, is it getting over a hump of fear is half of it. I mean, obviously there's physical limitations, but would the devices work?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't. I'm not too invested in your fingernails, but I do think, like, in general, like, what stops people from doing any particular action. I think extrapolating that out is very interesting.
Yeah. I do think the biggest piece for me, like with doing like my other hand or other tones and whatnot, is I think just the pressure just scares the living daylights out of me for some weird reason. I'm like, oh, just but
Yeah.
so it's gonna get me out over that hump, and then getting that assistance with like my left hand. But yeah.
So
All kidding aside, and this is going to sound like I'm joking, Cole. I'm really not. I'm sincere.
Okay.
The going to the salon solution, one, you find a good one. It's not going to cost you a lot for a basic cut. And two, in all seriousness, you're going to have the best looking hands. Like I frequently sit here and go, man, I really up my thumb this time and could have had somebody do that better. So there are positives there.
Yeah, no.
Gets expensive though.
It was tricky. I mean, this is kind of a more personal story, but especially tricky because like at summer camp when I was like away from my like there's like the stigma of like I can't independently cut. So either I'd be like go to the nurse or then like even just trying to ask like fellow like camp counselor like, hey, I'm sorry, but just like it's just so challenging. It's one of those things where it's like especially it's like if you're trying to like get help outside the family and you're not in nail salons, like where do you go? So
right. No, totally. I had a coworker who was like, I almost called you last night because his toilet was clogged and he couldn't plunge it, and I'm like, dude, call me. But it's there's certain tasks that you just don't be like, hey Bill, will you trim my nails today?
Yeah. So I mean, I was like, it felt like it wasn't the best experience.
Yeah.
And I know, I just feel like guys just don't do the best job with cutting nails. So, oh well.
Scott, I hope you know I would say yes, and I hope you know that I know that would be hard to ask.
Oh, I've asked people to do, like as needed some very interesting things.
Yeah, so it's tricky. It's just like I guess the comfort level and everything. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I think people with
absolutely.
disabilities have to do that a lot more often, as we all know.
Yeah.
But it's tricky.
Yeah.
I can't do the one thing I don't even let my mom do is the emery board on my fingers. That just like is a sensory overload for me. The cat loves licking it and smelling it for some reason, but I don't.
That's great.
Could I ask a design question to this group? Sorry, I don't mean
Yes.
to shift
Oh, no,
gears
you're
quickly
all
here,
good.
but
Probably
we're
about
short on time and I'm stuck on a question.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw a picture in a chat just of a wheelchair. I've been
Yes.
approached by an OT who works for one of the large medical mobility providers that rhymes with shoe motion. So he works with a guy that has basically this chair, including a component I've never seen before, which is the little release handle for the leg rests
Mm-hmm.
that's inside that kind of cartridge shape. And it almost looks like a bike brake handle to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a trigger. Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy he's working with, I don't know medical history, reason, whatever, but cannot cannot flex his fingers. So hand stays in a flat position. So can't get his fingers in there to pull that trigger. And they've asked, is this something that you could 3D print a solution for? I've got ideas. I don't want to kind of say what I've thought of and poison this group from coming up with new, better suggestions. Any ideas how you would adapt that to make it easily usable?
Oh, Bill, I love this question because just yesterday I got pictures of a upright walker, and the guy can only grab one brake, and I'm like, you cannot give him an upright walker if he can't grab the other brake. And so it's a very similar kind of task. I mean, he's only going to need to I think not that I need to tell you, but the design has to be not accidentally triggered. That's
right.
That's the biggest thing, because when his leg's flopping out.
Or catch
Safety
on every
component
door
of it.
frame he passes through.
Right. So how do you trigger it so that he could just, I would think coming around the front, no, that would still be risky. Well, his knees are going to be past that. Like when he's sitting in the chair, his knees are going to well cover that. So if it came around the front or side where he could hit it, how are his hands? His hands are
essentially karate chop. Yep.
Okay.
Huh.
So they're this way, not supposed
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
So he, it has to be something that he can then just press down on, right?
I don't have it. He showed me a video on his phone that I don't have, or I could show you. His hand is coming down almost at a 45-degree angle to that.
Gotcha.
So I'll go ahead and tell you kind of what we had thought of.
Yeah.
And I suggested that he try this first with splint material, is to take like a 6 to 8 inch long, 4-inch wide strip of splint material, heat it up, and basically wrap it around there so that he's got a wing sticking out to the side. And if he can hit that wing, that's basically, I'm sitting here gesturing at my screen like you can see what I'm saying. That would basically be perpendicular to that handle. But I'm afraid it's just going to twist and rotate around the handle and not actually work. I'm not super worried about it being hit. The chair is wider, like the base of the chair is wider than that location, so it's not going to catch on a door frame or anything.
Okay.
But I just don't know how secure that's going to be on there.
Yeah, when I was looking at my my walker, I was looking at just like even a Velcro strap that he could pull back on, but the positioning of yours makes it more difficult because it's so low. You don't have a back angle on that. You have an up angle from where he's sitting. But if, I mean, might be more than it's worth, but almost like gears, if you could have that and it loop down where he could pull up and it would make the brake pull back or the lever pull back. You know, like it would almost just be a post. You would have to wrap something around that
to give it like a pivot.
Right. That
well,
would
you
make
know,
it.
To that point, Scott, I think you're onto something there. And I don't even know that it needs to pivot. I was thinking of a wing that just kind of pointed straight out. But if you just design in a 90-degree angle to that, then he's hitting against that 90 and the whole thing can rotate a little bit. It won't matter if it's rigid enough, it'll pull that handle. I think that just solved it.
Congratulations, Scott.
Go team.
Yeah.
I'm always hesitant, like to your point with gears, it's not just not wanting to over engineer it, but it's another point of failure, right? Anything that moves. So I prefer rigid things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think you can get that same mechanical effect out of a rigid part.
So you'll have to design it and show us.
So there's the other part I left out. I have an OTD student who's taking an independent study with me this semester in engineering design. And so she has actually been tasked with doing this for her final project.
Nice.
I haven't seen anything that she's working on yet. So this is kind of a parallel ask. We'll see what she comes up with. And either way, I'll report back and let you all know.
Awesome.
Very good. Well, our time is just about up. So I'm glad we had time for that, Bill. Those are the fun ones for me.
Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, thanks everybody for joining. And I guess I never officially opened our what month is this? November Maker Roundtable, but we are now closing out our November Maker Roundtable. So thanks everybody.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks. Bye, y'all.
Hey, Scout.
Jessica, come back anytime.
All
Hey,
right.
Scout.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jessica.
No.
I was just going to ask, once the recording is off, can you hang out for just a minute? I have a related question for you. Or another time.
I can't stop the recording.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. It's not urgent anyway. It can wait. Thanks.
And feel free to email me or call me.
All right. Much
I have some
appreciated.
time. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.